We are in Pope's house.
We're in Rome for a few days, and when in Rome, you go to the Vatican and see St. Peter's Basilica. It's an amazing location you can't miss. We adventured the rest of the city too, and saw the Trevi Fountain, and we did a tour through the Coliseum and the Roman Forum. There's just so much to see in this city, so much history. I'm excited to share with you our trip.
The Victor Emmanual Bridge is what we just walked over, and we're heading to Vatican City. The street sign of the guy playing the air guitar.
It didn't look like there was a lot of people when we first showed up until we realized that the line wrapped around the entire square. For us, this is a pretty hot day, but this isn't the hot season. I can imagine in the hot season, standing in this line would be pretty tough.
We've now made it through the long line. It didn't take 3 hours, but it certainly felt close to that. So when you first enter, on your right in the corner is the holy door. Right now it's cemented shut, it looks like. It's only opened every 25 years, and the next time it's supposed to be opened is 2024, this Christmas. So they're gonna knock it down and let people enter through the holy door. This place is massive. Like the biggest place you've ever been in times 1,000. We are in Pope's house. He's probably right above us right now. Every one of these figures is like a 10-foot tall or more figure. So it looks like there's some renovations going on of some sort, because there's scaffolding built up right below Michelangelo's dome. I think that this is the entrance to Peter's tomb, St. Peter's tomb. There's a lot of people in here, but the place is so big that it almost feels like it's not as busy. Well, there we go. That's what the scaffolding's about. It's the restoration of... I think it's pretty cool that some of the windows with the sun coming through it are basically like little beams of light. You can see all the dust particles and stuff hanging out in the beam of light. So there are these gigantic organs on both sides of the service going on over there. And one of the things I'm finding very impressive is the acoustics in this building. The building is massive, and when the organ's playing and it hits that big note, the entire building resonates with those sounds. It's a really powerful sound. It's pretty cool. You can hear the valves of the organ opening and closing when you stand behind it right here. We didn't know the schedule too much. We're kind of just here and figuring it out. But I guess daily Mass is held at 5 p.m. and it's 5:08. So that's why we are hearing a service go on in the background as we walk around the building. That's the list of every pope. Everything that looks like a painting in here is a mosaic, and that's done for its ability to withstand the test of time. This is a really good showing of what I was trying to describe earlier with beams of light coming down through the windows. I would say all in all, this place is worth a visit no matter what you believe in. If you want to look at the architecture, if you want to just look at the sculptures, the artwork, it's certainly a unique experience. It's impressive.
Keys on the floor that are clearly a harder
They're not wearing out.
They're higher.
When you exit the Basilica, you get a really cool view of where the big services are held. It's like you're on the stage.
I think it's a little strange that it's like one of the world's most impressive buildings, and they don't paint the guard shack regularly. Like the guard shack's just paint's peeling off of it. So those are the balconies up there that you'll see the Pope come out and address everyone on Easter and Christmas and whatnot. Down on this lower level, I guess every Wednesday he comes out and gives a service. The obelisk is located in the center of the square to show where St. Peter was crucified. Kind of wild. It was all the way over in Egypt. I can't imagine the logistics needed for a 300-ton stone to be moved from Egypt to here and then erected in the way it is. The path leading up to St. Peter's Basilica was cleared by Mussolini. Apparently there was buildings and all sorts of stuff right here leading all the way up. He had them all torn down so that there was a clear view from very far away leading up to it. The traffic is nuts in and out. That's why Tristan and I, even though our hotel was like an hour walk away, we decided to just walk it all the way in and not have to deal with any of the hustle and bustle. We got to see a little bit of the city that we probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. If you're on a scooter or a motorcycle in Rome, you get to kind of do whatever the hell you want. This whole piazza, or plaza, used to be a racetrack. It was put in about the same time as the Coliseum was built. Many years after that, they put 3 big fountains in the center of the piazza, and that's what we're looking at today.
This is the Trevi Fountain. It is the most popular by far of all the fountains in Rome. And pretty much any time of day you'll see a huge crowd like this. It is now the second day of our Rome adventure, and we are going into the Coliseum this morning. Our ticket said 8 a.m. entry, but we got there early and walked around. We wanted to make sure we were in the front of the line.
The signs were saying that in the 6th and 7th century, somewhere between there, the outer walls collapsed because of earthquakes and basically buried the outside here, the flooring and all the supports. Now there are teams out here uncovering that flooring, that original flooring that would have led into the Colosseum.
Here's our first view of the Coliseum. I think the best view is on the second floor. We saw holes like this on a lot of buildings in Rome. We were told that metal became scarce a long time ago, and scavengers pulled the rebar out of all the buildings.
One thing that I didn't realize was that only a third of the original Coliseum stands. Everything else is restoration. Some older restoration, but restoration nonetheless.
Now we're on the second floor, which I think gives you the best view of the Coliseum. Walking around it, it looks a lot like any sports stadium that you would have ever been in. One thing that was surprising was the size. It was actually much smaller than I anticipated. For some reason I had in my mind, having watched Gladiator with Russell Crowe, that this was just going to be a gigantic building.
If you get in line early enough and you book the opening time for your ticket and you immediately run upstairs to the overlook, you can be up there basically by yourself and get a very good view of everything without the crowds. I highly suggest doing that because honestly, the crowds kind of take away from everything. It's a much more enjoyable experience. As you can see, there's one person on this whole side with us. Pretty cool painting showing how the Colosseum looked like a botanical garden after it had been abandoned for so long.
Now we're on to the Roman Forum. There's a lot here. We spent a bunch of time walking around just looking at random things. We didn't really know what everything was, but we were having fun with it. We found ourselves in the Vestal Virgin courtyard, and we were looking around. We saw what could have been a murder hornet, I don't know. Biggest bee we've ever seen.
This small tin-roofed structure is Julius Caesar's temple and was where he was burned after he was murdered.
I don't remember the name of this building, but it was a really cool building to adventure through. Each room had its own theme, and for whatever reason, the building seemed much larger on the inside than it did looking on the outside. There's a lot of small individual art exhibits in here. That's kind of a pay-to-play thing. Once you get all the way through and get to the top, you get a really good view of the entire Roman Forum.
We're just about to approach the Italian Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They're saying that this statue is one of the largest equestrian statues in the world, with the guy's mustache being a Tristan laying down on his upper lip, 5 feet long. It's kind of interesting. The Victor Emmanual Monument, the entrance is only an entrance, not an exit. So as soon as you walk up the front stairs, you have to go all the way through the monument, the restaurants, the museums, everything, before you can exit the area. So we're just kind of working our way around it right now.
This is the Pantheon. It was kind of weird trying to get in. There was kiosks that you had to buy tickets, and that wasn't really clear until you got to the front of the line. It's an old Roman temple. It's a really cool building. It has since been converted into a Catholic church.
We are now in the Pantheon. Tristan brought us to the skinniest restaurant I've ever been in. This is the width of the room.
It is. The table is like just over a foot wide. Plates can't be that big. It's very hot.
It's always funny seeing what the foreigners think of your country. We didn't have much of an agenda on our third and final day, so we decided to walk in areas of the city we hadn't before and poke our heads into different churches.
This is Michelangelo's depiction of Moses.
Nearly every corner in Rome has a church filled with things like this, so it's interesting to go into each and see what they have. We also found a couple parks that were fairly empty. They were nice to walk through.
There's a pretty long line for the Bocca della Verità, which is the mouth of the truth. Everyone's lined up so they can stick their hand in its mouth. As the story goes, if you stick your hand in it and you're a liar, your hand will be gobbled up.
Seeing this many obelisks was definitely not on my radar. They were everywhere. From my understanding, they're all Egyptian in origin. The farmers markets were awesome too. They had everything you could possibly imagine, and every person asked you if you wanted to buy something. Every time. Our last site was the Spanish Steps. At this time in the trip, we had felt like we'd seen everything we needed to see. If you want to see more videos like this, typically stationed in Alaska, check out the YouTube channel, Wicked Alaska. See you on the trail.